Support WrestleTalk!
Thank you for your Patreon support, Arnie K. The K stands for the coolest dude ever. Becky Lynch got arrested, Roman Reigns beats leukemia in a squash match, and Drax the Destroyer attacks Ric Flair in a huge cliffhanger. The Marvel Cinematic WWE Universe crossover is finally here! And that's not all. Roman's return was reportedly rebooked last minute when Dean Ambrose refused to reunite the Shield. Click the timestamps in the video description below to go straight to any of those stories. I'm Oli Davis. Give us a subscribe, press the thumbs up button, and answer our question of the day in the comments. How would you book Batista's WWE return from here? Where I'll be replying to people from out of nowhere. And click that eye above my head to give your rating of the show, where you can choose from Rawsome, Core, Average, Poor, and Rawful, as I review the 25th of February 2019 edition of Monday Night Raw. After a video package recapping Roman's shock leukemia announcement last October, guys, who's making a lasagna in here? Because those onions. The onions are making me cry. Reigns' entrance music hit to open the show. Boo! Oh no, wait, we like him now. It's gonna get some time for me to get used to that. It's a Pavlov's big dog response. Seeing Roman out there in good shape with a smile on his face, slapping the hands of fans and hugging family at ringside was incredibly heartwarming. Very significantly, it was also genuine. A connection sorely lacking through Roman's forced babyface push from the last few years. I've gotta hand it to you, Vince. This leukemia storyline's one hell of a work! And that's when Reigns announced that he's in remission from leukemia, and the big dog is back. Seriously, guys, I mean, stop with the lasagna prep, come on! Seth Rollins came out to embrace him at the top of the ramp, but there was oddly no Dean Ambrose in sight, meaning we missed out the poetic symmetry of replaying the same Shield fist bump spot from when Roman originally revealed his diagnosis. It's a shame it took a real-life struggle with leukemia to do it, but now, after all these years, Reigns is finally over as a genuine babyface with the crowd. I give it 3 weeks, which is more than I'll give last week's NXT call-ups. Nothing was done on this episode to alleviate my fears and concerns over last week's debuts being a rush job. Aleister Black and Ricochet had a frantic short victory over the Revival, but there's still no story for fans to invest in, and Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano were only used as cameos. I get that this was a loaded Raw, and you could argue that's why the NXT guys couldn't be featured so prominently. Well, then delay their debuts a few weeks, or just drop the Moment of Bliss segment, or Braun Strowman versus Bobby Lashley, or Bayley versus Nia Jax, and then you can feature them more. Also, the Revival have now been beaten clean in both their matches since winning the tag belts. WWE are really pushing the boundaries of storytelling in the women's division though, having their Ronda Rousey versus Ruby Riott feud play out like the narrative structure of Memento, having the payoff pay-per-view match first, and then the build to it happen afterwards. The Ronda and Natalya versus Ruby and Sarah Logan tag match here, though, was really just a setup to Becky Lynch jumping the barricade to hit Natty for the DQ, and then get arrested by police. Wanting revenge on Becky, Ronda then called out Stephanie McMahon to reinstate her in the WrestleMania 35 main event, which was good, but then the segment went weirdly astray, with Ronda's motivation suddenly turning to this being about Stephanie's legacy, her 3 daughters, and doing the right thing for the women's division. This would be far more effective as just a personal blood feud between Ronda and Becky, not how it impacts WWE's PR narrative. Kurt Angle beat Jinder Mahal in a match that could have been easily dropped to give the NXT debuts a storyline. Alexa's Moment of Bliss talk show is somehow still a segment, despite her being cleared to wrestle now, and continuing her horny gimmick from EC3's appearance, she teased showing her breasticles to Finn Balor if she got to see his abs. They're all over Instagram, Alexa. That's where I go to stare at them. I mean, that's where Randy Datson told me he goes to stare at them. This turned into a pretty decent match between Balor and Lio Rush, where the latter at times almost seemed to wrestle as a babyface. Potentially foreshadowing an eventual Rush face turn, Bobby Lashley then shouted at him backstage for them to both get steamrolled by Braun Strowman, weirdly just ending the ensuing match. I'm bored of this feud now. And I'm just as bored of Baron Corbin's mid-card of evil, which now has a new generic member. For showing him up earlier in the night, Elias cost Ambrose his no DQ match with Drew Drew McIntyre, which brought out Corbin and Lashley to join it. Why are you a team? Oh, so there's more people for the Shield to beat up. Seth and Roman came out to save Ambrose, but crucially didn't do a full reunion. This not only saves that payoff for later, it also doesn't undermine how Dean blamed Roman for getting leukemia because of how he acted in the Shield. That stuff doesn't work itself out in a post-match beatdown save. That's years of therapy, or just 3 weeks with Dr. Shelby. Reportedly, this angle was a late change in the script, which Luke will have more on later. Bayley beat Nia Jax after Sasha Banks caused a distraction, and the main event was saved for Ric Flair's 700th or something birthday celebration, which was terrifically built up throughout the night. Most of the Raw roster, baby faces and heels together, were on that entrance ramp as Triple H, Stephanie, Shawn Michaels, Ricky Steamboat, Kurt Angle, and Sting awaited the Nature Boy in the ring. I get where this is going, WWE. We've all seen this coming for weeks. Becky's gonna break out of jail and beat Rick up because she's feuding with Charlotte, and she's the real man. Sometimes, though, WWE can pull off the incredible feat of giving you something even better than that thing you really wanted. Rick didn't come out when his music played, and the feed suddenly cut backstage to a man in skinny jeans dragging a camera guy to Flair's locker room door. It was a returning Batista who beat up Flair, dragged out his lifeless body, and said into the camera with all that Hollywood acting skill, "Hey Hunter, do I have your attention now?" Huh? This was one of the best Raw cliffhangers ever, and an excellent angle to set up Hunter versus Batista at WrestleMania. Roman and Batista's returns will go down in WWE history as two of the best segments of all time. Roman for being such a genuinely heartwarming moment, Batista for being a pro wrestling shock return angle at its finest. Unfortunately, the rest of the episode was pretty lackluster, not building on the NXT call-ups from the previous week, making Ronda's motivation about the larger women's revolution, and Corbin's mid-card of evil dragging down the second hour. The bookending segments were more than enough to save the show though, so this week's Raw is core. Now it's over to Luke with that big story on Dean Ambrose refusing to reunite the Shield. Hey Luke.
Hi Ollie.
Yeah, so just before you get started with your portion of the news, I just wanted to, have a word with you about El Fakador.
Oh yeah? What's that?
It's just, there's been something off about him recently. I can't quite put my finger on it.
I mean, I've only ever seen trustworthiness out of him. He's the most trustworthy fella I know.
I know, it's just something he said to me the other day.
What Oli's saying. I am going to destroy you. So anyway, I think Finn Balor.
Yeah, I don't know, probably nothing.
Last week, British tabloids and known trash dispensers, The Sun and the Daily Star, both reported that Vince McMahon had demanded that Roman Reigns come back to WWE for a match at WrestleMania as a response to poor ticket sales at house shows and falling TV ratings in the lead up to WrestleMania, as well as the rise of All Elite Wrestling and AEW selling out Double or Nothing in just 4 minutes. On the same day as that report came out, Vince McMahon surprisingly tweeted that Roman Reigns would be returning to Raw to give a health update on his leukemia battle. As you will have seen on Raw and Oli Davis's review that preceded this news, Roman Reigns announced that he is now in remission and was back full-time as a member of the Raw roster, even teasing a Shield reunion with Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful is reporting that Vince McMahon was made aware of Roman's remission status early last week, but the decision to actually come back and wrestle again was completely Roman Reigns' call. As of the morning of Raw, the only other people to know about Roman's news was Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, Kevin Dunn, and Michelle Wilson. After Roman made the announcement on TV that he was in remission and celebrated with fans, he was joined on stage by an emotional Seth Rollins and the two embraced. But curiously missing was their Shield brother Dean Ambrose, who instead had a segment later in the night with Elias and fought in a losing effort to Drew McIntyre, where he was then saved in a 4-on-1 beatdown by Roman and Seth. And according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, Dean Ambrose made the decision to not join Rollins and Reigns on stage, and that he was very emotional while Roman was sharing the positive news about his return. Sapp adds that the angle where Seth and Roman saved Ambrose from the beatdown was written shortly after Roman's public update and the show was on air. Prior to Roman's announcement, both Fightful and Ringside News reported that WWE had planned to do a Shield reunion match at Fastlane Baby, and based on the angle from Raw last night, that could now be a strong possibility. Roman Reigns made his original announcement of leukemia back in October last year, just a couple of weeks before before he was set to defend his Universal Championship in a triple threat match against Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar at Crown Jewel. However, according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, that match might not have taken place even without Roman's leukemia announcement. Sapp is reporting that Roman Reigns had informed Vince McMahon and WWE officials that he didn't want to return to Saudi Arabia ahead of vacating the title. This would have made Roman the third big name in the company to refuse to do the show after John Cena and Daniel Bryan both pulled out of the controversial event in the light of the murder of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi. What this means for Roman and the next Saudi Arabia show, which is reportedly set to take place in early May, is yet to be seen. Thank you all for watching, and thank you to all of our wonderful pledge hammers on Patreon who are scrolling their way into my stomach, giving me the power of Grayskull as well as a lot of nutrients. Click the link over there to get your name in the credits and find out which WWE stars got released by clicking the video. I've been Luke Owen, and that was wrestling.